Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome. Namaste. I am so happy to be here today. We are going to look at the Mara Lunne Tarot, this very gentle offering by Lupen Grainne, and it just came into my hands earlier. That over the past, I want to say, year or so. Many of you have been asking me about this deck, and I'm really happy that I will be working with it moving forward, and I'm very pleased to share it with you today. So, what I'm going to do is go through the major arcana, and then we will have a look at some of the details of the cards. I sent a message to Lupin through her Etsy shop. And so some of my questions have been answered, and those details I will share with you. I ordered my deck through Make Playing Cards, and on Make Playing Cards, it comes in a tin. The deck is also available through Game Crafter. And so the product is the back of the tin, and you can see the name of the deck there, Mara Lunne Tarot. I believe on Game Crafter you get a little pamphlet, which is something you don't get on Make Playing Cards. So in the description box below, there is a link that will take you to both of those sites, and then you can compare what is offered on Game Crafter because it's different from what is offered on Make Playing Cards. So I just wanted to put that out there. So one of the questions I asked Lupin was about regarding the name of the deck. And I said to her that I researched these two words, Mara Lunne, in various languages, Greek and Celtic language, and so forth. And so what she came back with was she said that the name of the deck is a combination of her cat's name and her own name. So her cat's name is Marseille, after the town in France. And so we have Mar, and the deck creator's name is Lupen Grainne. And so the LU is for Lupin, and the NNE are the last three letters of her name. So I thought that was really interesting. You can see her Instagram handle down below there as well too. And I have, there's links for if you want to connect with her. Her art is absolutely beautiful. And another comment that I had for her was that I think this artwork would be amazing on paper, like we have in Rebecca Lefebvre's decks, that watercolor paper. And if you take the time to go and look at her artwork on her Etsy shop, or the other link that's there, you'll see that the paper would make all the difference. This is it's a really beautiful deck, and I'm gonna go take my time going through it and comment where I see fit. And if you have questions, please feel free to pop that in the chat or send me a message later, and I'll be sure to answer your question. One of my other questions or comments to Lupin was that there are a lot of right-facing cards in this deck, and was this a conscious choice? Because as many of you know who read tarot, the Fool is often facing towards the left. And she said, no, this is not something that was planned, that the design of this deck was very organic. I also asked about the sickle that is on the waist of the Fool. And she said that it also is the shape of a moon, which is a sign of intuition. And she thought that the Fool's journey is guided by intuition. So very beautiful. Hello, warrior girl. So yeah, so this is, and one thing also that really strikes me here too with the Fool card is that this could be a seawall, in any town, and we're not navigating mountains. We're going for a stroll, and there's a relaxed energy to this, and I feel that relaxed energy throughout throughout the deck. The color palette is very gentle and very soothing, and I could see this deck being, one to if you were looking for that kind of vibe, that it would calm you down. Very unusual iconography in the Magician card, the power of love in the Magician's hands. There's a few tarot decks that have, like, Reiki hands, I call them, on the Magician card, and I get that energy, and I love that there's a heart here, and that this energy is radiating out from the Magician's heart, and so we see not only a connection as above, so below, we see all of the elements that are floating around, but we see um, the connection all of this energy and very high frequency colors as well too around the magician. High priestess. Is she a mountain? Is she the abyss? Is she the cosmos? Is she everything? I think that's up for you to decide. It's it's a really beautiful card, and I think one that is very could be very potent to sit with and to journey with and to wander into her skin. Yeah. Last Friday, I included this deck in a video that I did, uh, getting to know how to get to know a new tarot deck, how to, start working with a new tarot deck, and if you wanna go back to that video from last Friday, you'll see some more thoughts and ideas on these cards, and I use this deck as an example of fanning out the deck and choosing a color that resonates, and seeing if there is a story that unwinds, through the color. So here's another example of a right-facing card. The Emperor often is looking in the opposite direction. There doesn't appear to be any sort of conversation going on between the Emperor and the Empress, but they, uh, definitely could be connected. I don't know if that's something that's important to you, whether the kings and queens and emperor and empress kind of fit together. Um, but we do see the solid nature of the emperor, the squareness of the chair, the square labyrinth symbols on the throne above and below. Feels a lot softer um, than the martial energy we normally see in the Aries energy we often see in a Emperor card. The Hierophant also has a softer nature. I love the way that the book is being held, almost as if the book itself is spirit, that it's just being held so reverently. And look at the green that is above around the halo, the energy emanating from the Hierophant, and then looks like that is the key. You know, the key that's normally in or that is the keyhole, and the Hierophant is the there's something kind of fun that's going on here. I'm always looking for portals and doors in a tarot deck. This might be one of my favorite cards. I asked Lupin, so I had a question for her. The Lover's card. We see they are sharing a common garment, and on the feminine side, there is a sun. And so the question I asked her was if there was a moon here that didn't show up in the printing, and she said no. Um, I thought that would be kind of cool. This is, but yeah, a really beautiful depiction of the lovers. Chariot, again, forward facing. Aloha, Jonathan. And I think the choice of animal in this card also is a reflection of the gentle nature of this deck. We see the strength, the fiery qualities perhaps in the top garment of the girl. Lupin worked with the Thoth Tarot for 10 years. She, as a young girl, had a tarot deck. Her father was, an astrologer, and so this sort of energy has been part of her life forever, um, but it's not something that she works with all the time, though recognizes it as a very valuable tool for discovery and reflection. Hermit, forward facing. You're gonna notice in this deck that the facings have been switched up from the familiar art in the Waite-Smith deck. There are no apparent, zodiacal correspondences, so we see the sun and the moon. We do not see the symbols in the 4 corners. Very simple, and I don't like to call a deck simple. I think there is space, and can we say simplicity? Um, there's space to breathe, and I think peace to be found. The hat on Justice reminds me of a nurse's cap. Um, something about that. I was staring at that, and there is a sun here, and there's a moon here. So it's nice on the balance all of the balance cards to see symbols of that, and that's why I asked Lupin if there was a moon that didn't show up in the printing, on the Lover's card. Namaste. The perpetual cycle of life. We see the cosmos within the Ouroboros. We see the abyss beyond the Ouroboros. It's a really good, yes, Jonathan, I wanna comment on that. Um, in a deck that has so many forward-facing cards, and I asked Lupin about this, the forward-facing and the right-facing and the left-facing cards. And she said the deck was painted organically, this was not intentional, but I think that justice reflecting on the past, I think there's something to that. Yeah, I like that. Justice is not usually justice is, facing straight on. Temperance. Oh, did we miss? No, we didn't miss Hanged One. I said namaste. Namaste. There is a solidity to the, tree that is behind this figure that feels significant. Also, there's something about the cards that have the dark sky, the dark sky, and I may do something with that later and put the cards into 2 piles of daytime and nighttime. And there is a very kind of subtle difference between the colors in Temperance. So we see the integration of the masculine and feminine colors. On the left side, we see blue, the right side, we see red, and usually in Temperance, this is reversed. So the masculine energy has a feminine color, and the feminine energy, the receptive energy, has a masculine color, but here they are on their corresponding sides. So yeah, yin and yang. I personally don't need 3 people in the devil card. I can work with this energy. One of the devil cards I don't like is in the everyday witch. Um, I think there's a couple of decks where the devil looks like the boy next door, and, depending on how you read this card, this is actually one of my I love it when this card comes up, because I just have there's just so many, many, many correspondences here. Tower. I did do a quick scan of YouTube, and there is one video on YouTube that compares this deck to the White Sage Tarot, and I understand actually why, um, it is compared to that. It does have a similar energy. Star. So one thing we don't see in this card is the water being look, it appears as if she is in the water, and interesting gesture, almost as if she is inviting you into the water. And we see the 8 an 8-pointed star with 7 other stars. Oh, well, Jonathan, you don't have white sage, okay. Moon. Again, this is a card where the perspective is shifted, so the water is on the other side of the pillars. The pillars are in the foreground, and you'll see that in lots of the minor cards where the perspective is shifted. I quite like this sun card. In a way, this deck reminds me of a fairy tale, a children's book. Not very often, but once in a while, um, I will lay out a spread, and instead of doing my usual thing, I will say to the querent, "Let me tell you a story." And it feels like this is the kind of deck where I could easily do that. And so instead of asking questions and interpreting the cards, I allow the cards to tell a story, perhaps to allow the querent to hear the message through a different, um, in a different way, different, perhaps in a gentler way as well too. And sometimes I do that when a message feels like it's going to be hard hitting. Okay. By the way, these are tarot size, normal tarot size cards. They are on they are on a sorry, I've had a lot of background noise. They are in a semi, glossy stock, but they're not too shiny. Shuffle really well. I'm sure you've all had cards from Make playing cards. And Jonathan, this was in my box. I've also uh, ordered this deck. So I got 3 decks from Make Playing Cards, and one of them this is Jonathan's Alarm deck. Jonathan, who's in the chat here. It does have spring vibes for sure, and I really like this Ace of Pentacles. Love, the rich color of the brown. Mhm, yeah. You know, there's something about this cup. The light The light is not quite, it's like if the aces are the seed, right? The aces are the potential of the suit. What I'm feeling in that ace is that the it's not fully illuminated, right? It's just beginning to shine. There's something I like about that. Love the perspective on the 2 of Wands. Now this is very different than most 2 of Wands where hi, Hirsch, where the 2 of Wands is hasn't moved anywhere, they're stationary, and so there's something about this one that really appeals to me. I asked Lupin if there was a card that she wanted to repaint, and the one that she mentioned was the 2 of Cups, and she said it had something to do with the blue hair. Sometimes she loves the blue hair, other times not so much. I think it is, a very endearing card. The 2 of Swords is another example of a card that shifts perspective, and what this reminds me of is drawing down the moon, some sort of a connection here. Now, if you're aware of the Decanic Minor Astrological Associations, this is a moon card, so it would make sense, right, that this was a moon ritual of connecting to the moon. So I like that very much. The threes. We see another shift of perspective. Jonathan, I'm a fan of blue hair. I had my hair that color in my 20s. I'm sure you did. Uh, what do you think of the shift of perspective in the Three of Pentacles, where it appears the artist in the foreground is quite focused, and then the other 2 are very far in the distance. So this is a really different vibe than a lot of Three of Pentacles. And I have an abundance of decks where, cards have different, interpretations. There's something about this one that intrigues me, and I'm curious to know how that's gonna play into readings. Love the artwork on the Three of Wands. I think it's, outstanding. Force. I believe this deck was painted Fool first. Actually, I can get you her answer. It appears that Lupin is a little shy. I asked her if she would be willing to do an interview. Um, and I'm gonna go back and forth with her. Uh, what was the first card you painted? And she said, the first card I painted was the Fool. It was just a sort of, well, let's see if I can actually make one card. And since it felt so huge of a project, I told myself it would be just a trial run and it doesn't have to be the actual start to the deck. But once I painted it, I knew it was the start. And then I started on the court cards, and then the suits and the majors I did last. I like having that information. Hi, Sharon. Welcome. Yeah. Um, really like the Four of Pentacles and fives. So there are many perspective shifts in this deck, um, which I think are going to invite in lots of possibilities into readings. In the Five of Swords, normally the person who is in the foreground has their back to the ocean, and people that are in the background are closest to water. But the person in the foreground has completely turned around and is facing the water, and I think that says something different than in the, um, in Coleman Smith's artwork. The 5 also, the 5 of Pentacles feels different. So I think, yeah, very, very peaceful, gentle sorts of readings are gonna come from this deck. The 6s, happy, right? 6 is a number of beauty and peace and contentment and all of that. This is watercolor. Hi, Laura. Um, and something else. You'll have to go the links for all more detailed information are down below. It's watercolor and something else. Though whatever she what she uses for the black, for the lines. Okay, 7s. Very familiar looking art. Change of direction. And kind of take that 2 swords are mounted on the wall. Mhm. So, Sharon, you have been working with this deck for a while, it sounds like. Yeah, I hummed and I hawed and hummed and hawed, and, even so until I actually went and looked at her artwork on Instagram and the Etsy shop, I wasn't really sold on the deck, but just looking at her paintings, it's just given me a whole other, appreciation and feeling for Lupen's art. And I may actually, order a couple of prints, not from images from the deck, but from her other artwork. Now the 8 of Swords, I'm kind of fascinated with this. Looking to the past. So this card, like the Justice card, is looking left. These are 2 cards that are worthy of a side-by-side look. I'm really sorry, there's just been so much noise in my house today. This is the deck I come home to after working with the Marielle. All right, nines. As I said earlier, I'm probably gonna pull out the date it appears like most of this deck is in the daytime, very few nighttime cards, but I wanna pull out all the nighttime cards and have a look at them. The other thing too is there's a lot of doorways in this deck, and I wanna have a look at all of the, doorway cards together. Hi, Lala, welcome. There's something about portals and doorways that really speaks to me. I have something mixed up here. So that's 9, sorry, there's all the 9s. So she is sitting on a chair with her hands on her face, and the 10s. There's a few cards with those concentric circles. Might pull all of those out as well too and have a look at them together to see if there's an energy or a story that's unfolding. As I was saying with the Fool card, the 10 of Wands is not, um, appears to be on flat ground. The task isn't as overwhelming as we see in his art. In every way, this is a gentler, easier deck. Another question that I asked Lupin was what her favorite card was, and she mentioned the Page of Wands, and I have to say I really like that card as well too. I think the Page of Wands and the Lovers. Yeah. Alright, I'll say aloha, Jonathan, if you disappear. And I had just had to laugh when I saw the Page of Swords, the way that she has her left hand on the sword is like, "Ow." Also, you should know that, Lupin also weaves baskets, and if you go to her Etsy shop, you'll see, her weaving as well too, so knight the knights are all close up, they are not mounted. So this is one of those decks where the energy is in gesture, it's in facial expression. I think she captured it very well. Page of Cups is calling Jonathan. Here are the queens. I'm gonna start to gather the cards and we can do a 3-card reading when we end here. So have a look at the queens. So the quartz of water are myrrh, all merfolk. And the king and queen, I really like the king and queen of pentacles. And I want you to let's look at all of these side by side because I think this is fun. So there's your queen and king of wands. Oh, hi Sharon. Um, so the creator's name is Lupen Grainne, and Lupin's cat name is Marseille. So the deck is named after Marseille, so Mara, and then Lune is the first 2 letters of the deck creator's first name and the last 3 letters of her surname. Mm, and here are the king, queen, and king of water, and swords. And then just look at these 2. I think these 2 are great. Zoom in a little bit here. That's as much as I can. Something, very fairy tale-like in these 2, and there's a few different, there's not too many fairy tale decks that I work with, and I won't say that this is a fairy tale deck, but there's something like there's a, uh, fairy tale quality to the colors of these cards, and I'm not certainly not Grimm's fairy tale, um, but, there's a softness, there's a sweetness that's going on here. So I am going to do a 3-card pull, and so let's just have a look at. Oh, also, this is fun. As you know, I've shared with you my new Moon Tarot, and Lupin's art has also been featured in We Moon, and I'm gonna have to go back through my weavings to see which art she's had included in that. So today is Wednesday the 15th. The moon moved into Capricorn? Um, Sun and moon are sextile, 4:03 PM. The moon goes into Capricorn, tonight. So the moon is still in Sag. The moon is waning. And where are we? We are in the 3rd, we're almost where the 3rd decan of Aquarius. 7, 7 of, air, 7 of swords energy. Okay. I just always like to acknowledge where we are and, where I am when I do a reading, no matter what the reading is. It just kinda sets the tone for the place. Okay. So this is, I'm gonna do I haven't done a deck interview yet for this deck, but what I wanna do is ask Mara Lunne, what the strength of this deck is, and in particular thanks, Trish. In particular, reflecting on my large library of tarot decks, what is the strength of this deck? Where will this deck shine in my work as a tarot reader? All right. Okay, so what I'm picking up here is emotional reflection. Emotional reflection. Um, that kind of counting your blessings kind of energy? Contentment. So the and much like we were saying, right? So I guess this card confirms this is the deck of um, peace. It's a deck of harmony. It's a deck of serenity. What else do we need to know about that? That the potential for, I feel like the word unfolding was coming to mind. That this deck brings light. This deck is it. If you are in a place where there is a sense of worry, there is weight on your heart. It's almost as if this deck will lighten that. That's what I'm very much what I'm feeling from these cards. And then the world. Interesting to look at the rainbow in the distance in the center card, and then the circle, the circle around the world card. So what Okay, so we have like the sticks, the straight energy, we have an arc, and we have a circle. So compare those 3 shapes, and what I don't know if I can find words for this, but I feel as if, yes, this deck is about reflection and finding peace and contentment, but it will also take you full circle. It also can cover the gamut of what needs to be covered in a reading. This deck is, complete. Yeah, Jonathan, I just saw you type that in as I said that word, jinx. Hmm. The center card, there's an opening. There's, I feel a lot of potential in all of these cards. Like, if you are feeling stuck or troubled or worried, that this deck is going to lighten your heart and it's gonna open something up for you, and help you to provide a glimpse into just exact whatever it is that you need. Yeah, Laura says, "I'm intrigued by her holding the tree." This reminds me of, um, in Pixie's art, isn't the 2 of Wands doesn't the figure in the 2 of Wands hold one of the staffs, and then another one is, affixed to the castle? Reminds me a little bit of that. So it's like she's holding the tree for strength or connecting to the tree. Well, that is a wrap for today, and I wanna thank you for being here and, appreciate those of you that are in the chat. If you have, questions or you would, if there's anything you'd like to ask Lupin, I have opened a conversation with her, and so know that, I was talking to her through Etsy, so she responded, and it was great. She answered my long list of questions really quickly. So, Lupin, if you're watching this, thank you so much for this beautiful offering, and thank you all for being here today. Namaste. Bye, everybody.